Hey guys, we're here with Bella TV talking to Dr. Sivan Finkel. And we want to talk to you tonight about how to get a beautiful cosmetic smile. Hello, Doc. How are you?
How are you? How's it going?
It's great. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having me.
So can you talk to us a little bit about your background? And,
Sure. I'll give you, I don't want to dwell on myself too much, but I'll give you a little background in a nutshell. I'm an aesthetic dentist here in Manhattan now, and my background was actually art. I studied art history and art studio in New Orleans during college, and came around to dentistry in kind of a circular fashion, but eventually realized it's the type of dentistry that I do, that I wanted to do, was so artistic that my background in art kind of complemented what I do today professionally. So I came to it kind of in a circular route. But, I trained in New York, I went to Rutgers and then Columbia for my residency, and then 2 years of aesthetics training at NYU.
Awesome.
And I love it. It's a really satisfying field, and I'm really happy to be here and share a little bit about what we do, and maybe clear up some myths and just explain things for the viewers.
Right. So you talked a little bit about artistry with dentistry, and you're an aesthetic dentist.
Yes.
Can you talk to us about at home? We would like to have like that beautiful smile that we see on people on red carpet in the movies, and we often look at them and wonder, like, do they have a great relationship with the tooth fairy?
Sure.
Like, how do they get those beautiful teeth?
Right. So some people are lucky enough to have just the genetics.
Right.
If it's a matter of genetics, then all you have to do is maintain your smile. Stay away from dark or acidic liquids, stay on top of your dental cleanings, etc. Most people are not that lucky, and I'll tell you the dirty secret: when most celebrities think they're gonna start to blow up, they go to Hollywood, the first thing they do is they get veneers.
Veneers.
So it's very, very common. It's more common than you would think. So that's kind of the shortcut that most people take. Most people are not blessed with the genetics that will give you that superstar smile.
Now, can you talk to us about some of maybe the top 2 or 3 procedures that people at home can get, like with your services?
Sure. So what I like to consider myself as a well-rounded aesthetic dentist, veneers are one tool in my toolbox. The other thing we like to do is Invisalign and, of course, whitening. And when you combine all 3 of these procedures, it really becomes powerful. And I'll give you just in a nutshell an example. Let's say you go to a dentist and somebody thinks they should have 10 veneers. If you take a step back and say, maybe we do a little bit of whitening, a little bit of Invisalign, and now you only need 4 veneers or 2 veneers instead of 8 or 10 or 12. And the reason I mention that is because it's really important to be conservative, and we have this obligation to not over-treat. So when you hear about celebrities getting veneers, I'd like to think that as the dentists become more responsible, we're not doing as many veneers on people, and we're not taking shortcuts as much.
Got it. So you said
Does
veneers.
that answer your question? Yeah.
Yes, it did answer my question, actually. And you said veneers, whitening, and also
Invisalign.
Invisalign.
Or any orthodontics. I mean, most adults don't want to do metal braces anymore,
Yeah.
and I can't blame them.
No.
But Invisalign's great because it's virtually invisible. You can barely see them, and it works. It's like magic. And once you get a tooth into the right position, and then do a veneer, you'll be much less. You'll be drilling much less on that tooth.
Got it.
Versus trying to correct the position of a tooth with a veneer, it's doable, but it's a little bit more aggressive. So my message is to anyone that's thinking about this: you really want to make sure you find a dentist that's concerned with putting as little drilling on that tooth as possible. That's the bottom line. That's quality.
And what I hear you're saying is that you're also conservative with making sure people can meet their price point. Because, you know, what's the point of going in and someone say, oh, I need 10 veneers? Like you said, you take in other ways.
Yeah, the finances are a concern, and you know, we don't want to break the bank. I won't lie. None of it's cheap, right? Even the Invisalign is not necessarily much cheaper than doing the veneers. But from a dentist perspective, we as dentists have to be really careful to not get distracted by the promise of doing 20 veneers for someone. The dentist's making a lot of money.
Right.
And it's not always easy to walk away from that.
Right.
So as a professional, as an expert, I'd like to think of myself as an expert on these matters, I say no all the time. And I think one of the things that an expert, you know, that the patients deserve is for someone to not only say when it's right, but also when to say when it's not right.
Right, right. That's good. That's building up trust with you and your
It's really
patients,
important.
you know?
It's really important.
It's really important.
Yeah.
Now, with veneers, how long do they last?
So it's interesting. Typically, we used to say that you would get maybe 10 to 15 years out of your veneers.
Wow.
Now there's new materials on the market that are showing so much promise that the new materials haven't even been out for 15 years yet, but they're showing so much promise that we'd like to think they will have even more longevity than our traditional materials. Going back to something I mentioned a moment ago, it's all about case selection. If somebody's not the right candidate for veneers, they won't last as long. If the dentist is making the right judgment and it's an appropriate patient for veneers, it'll last longer.
Right, right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and I like the way that you're explaining it, because most of us at home don't understand the whole process into the practice of what you do. Now, can you talk a little bit about the your practice?
Sure. So my father has a practice we call the Dental Parlour here in Manhattan. He's been there for about 40 years.
Wow.
And he's amazing. He's a general dentist, but in the traditional sense. Fix me. People come in with toothaches. They need root canals. They need fillings, crowns, etc. What I came to him about 8 years ago was this idea that I would add this aesthetic, cosmetic niche. He wasn't doing many smile design cases. The beauty is, working with him, he's my mentor. I learn a lot from him about the philosophy of how we treat patients and all these things. The beauty is that we complement each other instead of kind of compete. It's
right.
really nice, and so our patients are often, like he'll do something and then I'll work on that same patient, or he'll do something for my patient and then I'll get them. So we have this really nice back and forth. And so it's excellent. I'm really lucky to have him, because I know it's really important to have a mentor in whatever field you're in.
Right,
and
right.
I can trust him, and it's just great. It's
Well,
really
it seems like you're changing lives with one smile at a time.
Trying.
And how do you define beauty?
I'm so happy you asked that question. Because the answer, and that's the million-dollar question. Beauty, it almost doesn't matter how I define beauty, because it's so subjective. And everybody in this room might have a different idea of what's beautiful. So my job is to guide my patients to what I think is natural looking, right? No chiclets.
Right.
but kind of understand what their vision of beauty is.
Right.
Convey that to my ceramist. I work with a very talented ceramist who makes things look like you would never even know that they were fake, like real nature. But convey the vision of the patient to the ceramist and keep everyone on the same page. Very little to do with what my notion of beauty is.
Yes.
But I'll guide a patient, because we have certain universal criteria, but a lot of subjectivity too.
Wow.
If that makes sense.
Well, it makes perfect sense, and it sounds like you and your father have an amazing practice, both offering health for dental care as well as like the aesthetic part of dental care.
Yeah, we're happy to offer the full spectrum, because at the end of the day, beautiful teeth, you can't just slap veneers on someone's teeth and say like, goodbye, I'll see you later.
Right.
You have to really take a look at the overall health, and not just the overall health of the mouth, it's connected to your entire body. So we pride ourselves on being full service, and I'm just adding that aesthetic element to the whole situation.
Wow, and you're making it accessible for all of us with our price points, that our viewers out there.
Yeah, I try to, we try to keep the cost low, at least for, you can get in the door and have a consultation and see a idea of what you would get before you get into the real big money.
Right.
I have one thing I like to do where we actually let a patient test drive a smile in plastic before we commit to the real work.
Wow.
And they go home, show it to their husband, wife, etc., before we've drilled anything on the teeth, before we've put big money on the table.
Right.
So predictability, let people know what they're getting into.
And very transparent.
Yeah, totally transparent.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Wow.
It's so important.
It's so nice to talk to you, Dr. Sivan.
Thank you for having me.
And for more information about Dr. Sivan and what he offers, and if you want to get a beautiful smile, please go to our website at Bella NYC. Please like, share, subscribe, or even pick up the latest copy of Bella Magazine. And tune in next week at 4, and we'll bring you all that we have. Bella bringing beauty to you, and see you next week.